be here. I am Pete Christumas. I am the Director of the Office of Community Engagement. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, as well as those that are watching online. Man, what a time it's been these last 2 years. I mean, truly, but we iterated, right? But here we are back in person this evening, and I'm excited. So it's great to be here, but like our county executive promised us in the beginning, that we would become better, and we have become better. We have become better by working together with so many of our residents throughout Baltimore County that participate in this budget process year after year. Community engagement is the hallmark of the county executive's administration.
They could turn the volume down a little bit. Yeah,
we're also in front of the speaker.
Trying to figure this out.
Just a little bit.
That's what I'm trying to do.
And Pete's loud in general.
I'm just loud. Sorry. But as I was saying, community engagement
I
is the
campaigned
hallmark
in
of the county
2013 in this
executive's
suit. That's how
administration.
old it is.
And I, along with the county executive, are excited year after year to see how many people throughout Baltimore County come out as our residents to participate in the budget process. And tonight we get to kick off live and in person for the first time in 2 years the District 7 Budget Town Hall, hosted by your county executive Johnny O and your councilman Todd Crandell. Before we kick that off, I do want to run through a little bit of ground rules here. After the county executive's budget presentation, we will open the floor up for a Q&A. There's a mic lined up on the right side of the room and the left side of the room. You will have 2 minutes to testify or provide your ideas for the budget. And if you have any questions, the county executive, one of his department heads, proper department heads, or the councilman will try to answer your question. If we cannot answer your question this evening, one of our team members from the Office of Community Engagement will be following up with you. With that, let's give a warm welcome to your councilman in the 7th District, Todd Crandell.
Thanks. Am I using this one or this one?
You're using that.
All right, I'm using this mic. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you. I know we don't know how to do live and in-person meetings anymore. We need to get back into the habit of doing that. But first I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. And I want to thank you if you're viewing this via live stream. It's been a tough 2 years, very difficult 2 years for a lot of us. Some of us has lost some people close to us or family members, friends, and that's been difficult, of course. And we should always remember those folks that couldn't be with us tonight because of the pandemic or for whatever reason. So I also want to thank the county executive and his team for putting this event on. This is the 3rd town hall that we've conducted together in the district, and the county executive is doing this throughout Baltimore County. And I'm going to be very brief in my remarks tonight because really this is your meeting. This is your opportunity to provide input to the county executive on his budget. And I also want to be brief because he has a presentation to present to you, which may take up a little bit of our evening. I think everybody knows that the county executive and I don't always agree on things, but I can assure you that we work well together, that our staffs work well together, and we work with the administration and his staff and the county executive for the greater good of District 7 on a daily basis. And I hope you all would appreciate that, know what your policies and ideologies are. We represent local government, so we are here for you, and it's our jobs to look out for you. And I am extremely pleased with the progress that the 7th District has made in my tenure and in the county executive's tenure. And that's not to say that we don't have challenges and things that we can work on and do better and make the 7th District what I think it is, which is the most dynamic and best district in all of Baltimore County. So with that, I want to introduce to you the county executive, Mr. Johnny Olszewski, Jr.
Let's have a round of applause for Councilman Crandell as well, everybody. Like Todd said, we come from different political persuasions. We represent different political parties, but at the end of the day, we recognize what matters most, and that's the people who live in the 7th District and the people who live in Baltimore County. And every opportunity that the councilman and I have to drive progress together, we always try to do it. And so thank you, Todd, for your partnership and for being here tonight. As has been said, it's been 2 years since we've done one of these things in person, so I might be a little rusty, so I appreciate your grace in advance. Before we do that, but I'm so thrilled that so many are here. I want to thank all of our department heads or their staffs for being here. A lot of senior staff is here because this is what it's about. Your government coming to you, whether you're in person or you're watching on the live stream. We want to be present and we want to be a partner. So thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank and acknowledge our administrative officer, Stacey Rogers, who helps lead the government, along with our outstanding department leads for her presence here as well. So let's kick it off. It's great to be back in person. And, you know, part of the reason we're here is because of the COVID response. And together we have done everything from feeding over 18 million meals to vaccinating about 80% of our county, to putting forward all kinds of relief. But just to put things in context, the vaccination rate and what we saw through this most recent spike, vaccines work. They're safe, they're effective, and they help save lives. They help keep people out of the hospitals, and they help keep our emergency professionals from being overwhelmed and our emergency rooms from being overwhelmed. Just to put things in perspective, during the most recent surge, we saw about 84% of all hospitalized patients were unvaccinated. And now keep in mind that 84% is coming from about 20% of the population. So if you haven't gotten your vaccine yet, we continue to encourage you to do so. If you haven't gotten your booster, please do so. It's how we think we can continue this push towards normalcy. In-person meetings, removing the masking requirements. And we really think this is how we can come out of this and stay stronger together. So please consider that as well as we move forward. I mentioned some of the pandemic response, which is, I think, a testament to the team here in Baltimore County, whether it was the award-winning vaccine efforts and testing efforts at the Maryland State Fairgrounds, where Governor Hogan came and gave Baltimore County credit and recognized it as best in class. The mobile clinics across Baltimore County, partnerships with Uber, going in and doing homebound vaccinations. Most recently, we've distributed over 100,000 rapid test kits. There were more out in the lobby as you came in. And that was on top of the $250,000 that we helped the school system procure and secure. We set up a large-scale testing site at White Marsh, as well as our expanded testing hours at places like here in Dundalk, Randallstown, and Towson. And again, we continue to test, we continue to make vaccines available, and we'll continue to serve to make sure we get through this pandemic. I mentioned the 18+ million meals, millions of dollars in eviction prevention, keeping over 1,500 families in their homes. We are closing the digital divide, providing internet essentials through our families. We did that through the CARES Act. We're going to continue providing internet to low and moderate income families through the American Recovery Plan, which we'll talk about a bit more tonight. We stood up a child care subsidy program for moderate income and low income families, as well as county employees who had school-aged children, because we think our employees are our most valuable resource in Baltimore County. And we kept small businesses afloat with over $26 million of direct aid to the business community. Moving forward, we are lucky enough that we're going to have $160 million of additional support coming from the federal government through the American Rescue and Recovery Plan. About half of that is going to be used to continue the services we've been providing, the testing, the contact tracing, the vaccination. The other 80 million, we put forward a plan that really is about getting to where we should have always been. Not just aspiring to return to just business as usual, but really going into communities and elevating the standard. And in Essex, that's one of the great examples where we've got $3 million to really holistically and intentionally go in and do a wraparound program with rec, with streetscapes, with support services and programs to really elevate that community. We have $16 million towards an affordable housing development fund, over $2 million to support our child care providers across Baltimore County, community equity districts in vulnerable communities, more support for small businesses and bolstering our great tourism assets, and over $2 million for additional behavioral health responses, like our behavioral crisis response team, where the police department is a co-responder and goes out and helps intervene with those experiencing mental health and behavioral health challenges. We want the county to be its best self, and we think that that begins with open, accessible, and transparent government. And so working with the county council, I was very pleased that we've been able to do everything from creating the county's first ever Office of the Inspector General, an office that we've expanded every year since, introducing major ethics reform, improving our lobbying laws, and recently we just enacted public financing for local elections to allow more people to have access to elect members of the county council and county executive in future years. We've launched this signature town hall series, which has engaged thousands of people in the budgeting process. Prior to becoming county executive, the 2 years prior, there were 2 people who testified on the county budget. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was after, the council still has their budget hearings as well, but their hearing is after the fact. We wanted to flip that paradigm on its head and come to you before the budget is submitted to say, what are the priorities, what really matters in your communities? And you all have responded, and it's been great. So thousands of people have engaged in person and virtually. Dozens and hundreds of people have actually testified, and we think it's great. BC Stat is the county's first ever accountability system where we use data to drive our decision making and post information. We have the county's first ever open budget platform where you can go in and see down to the check how your taxpayer dollars are being spent. And we created the Office of Community Engagement. You met the director, Mr. Chris Kumis, earlier. He's also your District 7 rep. So we have a dedicated representative for all 7 council districts. This is a budget town hall, so let's talk a little bit about budget, where our resources come from. By and large, the big resources of revenue for the county are your real property tax and the income tax. Where does the money go? It goes into our people. It goes into employees. It goes into public education. It goes into our libraries. It also goes into public safety, health and recreation, and public works and transportation. We really are spending the bulk of our money in the bread and butter of what matters: public safety, education, transportation, and other health and recreational services. In addition to the operating side, there's a capital side. You may remember last election cycle, you were asked to vote on any number of bond initiatives that are approving spending, where we go in and we actually put forward that money, and you see those resources put to work in our community. We're going to talk about those investments later on today. Again, the bulk of our capital money goes to our schools, and through our Metropolitan Fund goes to our water and sewer. You know, a lot of people ask about the fiscal management of this county. Baltimore County is one of just a handful of counties across the country. So less than 2% of counties nationwide have what's called a AAA bond rating. That's where all 3 rating agencies come out and give a rating of how creditworthy a jurisdiction is. It really speaks to our sound fiscal management that we are AAA rated. We've maintained that throughout the pandemic. And it allows us to save you money when we go to borrow for those bond initiatives. You know, we really have tried across the board to invest in quality of life and the improvements that, frankly, we've heard at these town halls. And whether it's code enforcement and listening and standing up additional resources, hiring more code enforcement inspectors, launching a new code enforcement dashboard. We have a new fund that's revolving to address derelict properties, or bulk trash pickup. I mean, this is one of those ideas. All of these are where it came from you. You know, you said we want to have this service brought back, and it was back in 1992. Johnny Carson was being replaced by Jay Leno at the Tonight Show. Whitney Houston was topping the charts with "I Will Always Love You," and I was pretty young. And 30 years later, we've been able to bring that service back thanks to the support of Councilman Crandell and the County Council. We've also recognized that places like Turner Station have food access challenges, which is why recently we, in partnership with so many community members, we actually have stood up a food access shuttle to bring those opportunities to the community. We have a new food security coordinator. We're working actively to bring more grocers and more fresh produce to the area. Had a great opening at a food pantry recently at the local church, and we just want to make sure we continue to partner to meet some of the most basic needs here. There's a great story in District 7 at Trade Point Atlantic, which is one of the biggest e-commerce hubs in the country, if not the biggest, certainly the biggest on the East Coast. It's a real success story that Councilman Crandell and I tout everywhere that we go. Thousands of jobs are coming, and look for another big announcement in March on even more jobs coming to our community and our county. We're making similar investments and improvements across Baltimore County. Catonsville, Music City, Maryland, our first ever arts and entertainment designation. Reisterstown, 2nd Main Street, Towson, a Main Street affiliate. The list goes on in terms of what we're doing together. Education, those of you who know me, it's my passion, it's my priority. Former teacher in Baltimore County. Working with you, working with the council, for 3 years in a row, we have frozen in-county tuition for our residents at CCBC. We've expanded the College Promise program for our young people. We've expanded early college access. We've made P-TECH programs more available. So our young people have access to higher education at low or no cost, and all of our residents have access to their community college. Our seniors are the backbone of our community, which is why we've expanded programming, whether it's No Senior Eats Alone Day and launching Age-Friendly Baltimore County, putting in real investments to places like the Edgemere Senior Center, or expanding parking and hours at Fleming Senior Center. We worked with the Weinberg Foundation to do the Bcps program, where we go in and we help our seniors stay in place by doing home renovation and rehab for our seniors. Transportation has been on the move since we've taken office 3 years ago. We recently launched the first fixed route transit service in Towson, the Towson Loop. We are hopeful that this can serve as the model. It recently had its 10,000th rider after just a few short weeks. And we look around the county and we say that there are places to replicate this success, to move our people around efficiently, safely, and effectively. Working with Councilman Crandell, we know that road resurfacing remains a top priority, not just in District 7, but across Baltimore County. Some of our years have been record funding, the most ever. Other years have been near record funding, and so we will continue to make those improvements for traffic calming, road resurfacing in the years to come, and we try to be responsive and take a look at the community when they have those requests that come in. On the public safety front, and I want to thank Chief Hyatt and her team for being here tonight, we actually have some good stories to talk about in Baltimore County. Violent crime year over year is down 16% across Baltimore County. Now, we know that we want to keep our neighborhoods safe and do everything we can to make sure that every crime is sought after, that we arrest people who commit crimes, we prosecute them. And that's what we say. If you commit a crime in Baltimore County, we'll find you, we'll arrest you, and we'll make sure you're prosecuted. That's why violent crime is down. It's why we have one of the highest clearance rates in the region, far above the national average at 81%. It's why I'm partnering with the chief to do targeted enforcement. It's why we're standing up a real-time event center, and why we'll keep making investments to track data. You can find out all of the information on public safety at baltimorecountymd.gov/BCStat. We do recognize that there was, the homicide rate was up last year. And I think it's important for folks to know that about half of all of our homicides last year had either a behavioral health, and a mental health, or a domestic violence component. And so for law enforcement, it's really about how do we get ahead of those things and really try to tackle some of these larger issues head on. It's why we're expanding that mental health crisis team program that has been so successful in Baltimore County. We're putting in a clinician in the 911 call center to help screen for mental health crises, to better deploy resources. And we're also funding 10 domestic violence coordinators and 10 vulnerable adult coordinators through our ARP process to be out there in the community helping to interrupt violence, helping to prevent issues of domestic violence, and trying to address the real challenges that we're seeing around mental health as well. At the same time, we're also being responsible in our law enforcement. We were the first jurisdiction in the region to pass policing reforms. It was a bipartisan piece of legislation that banned chokeholds and codified many other reforms so that they can't be undone. We created public data dashboards of use of force and complaints against officers so that, again, leaning into that value of transparency and accountability. We're also actively working to tackle the opioid crisis head on, whether it's expanding access to syringe services or putting out permanent drug take-back boxes. We also believe very much that we have to expand access to treatment, which is why we stood up the first treatment center in Owings Mills in partnership with Gaudenzia. We're also partnering with Shepherd Pratt to create a hub and spoke model for treating mental health and behavioral health challenges together. And we continue to build out our own hub and spoke model in Baltimore County to ensure people have access to providers. Issues of sustainability are big in Baltimore County, and we've done everything from restarting glass recycling, which was discontinued back in 2013, to setting bold standards on climate action with the appointment of our first ever Chief Sustainability Officer, was Steve Lafferty, now is Jen Aosa. In partnership with those leaders, we've set forward, we said we can have 100% of our energy in Baltimore County be renewable. And we're doing that by putting in solar panels at capped landfills and capturing methane at Eastern Sanitary Landfill. We're also promoting electric vehicles, partnering with BGE in a public-private partnership to install charging stations across Baltimore County. I believe there are some outside here. And then we also issued an executive order that all future replacement vehicles that are transport vehicles will have to be either electric or hybrid in Baltimore County. We have doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on parks and open space in Baltimore County. Here in District 7, there's $16+ million coming to Sparrows Point Park. It's going to be a gem. It was done in partnership with community leaders. Everything from the playground to a double court gym to a scenic walking path, fishing pier and kayak launch. These are the kinds of investments that communities deserve, and we're proud to be partnering with you all to deliver on that. It's part of our record investment across the state, across the county, $75 million this fiscal year in rec and parks. That is, to put it in context, that is more this year than in the past 6 years combined in rec and parks. So I want to thank our state partners, Speaker Jones and others, for helping give us some state resources, but we have stepped up in a big way locally to make this happen. We have $1.5 million set aside for the Dundalk Heritage Trail. I know that's a long-standing issue that I've been fighting for a long time over in the St. Helene community and the old Dundalk community. I believe there's $500,000 towards the investment in the creation of the North Point Greenway Trail here as well. We started Operation Retreat, which is it's a tree equity program where we go into communities that have been traditionally underserved by tree canopy. It's good for health, it's good for home values, and we started in West Inverness with that program. We enacted, in partnership with some of you, a successful midge treatment pilot program. Stay tuned. There's an exciting announcement coming up with Councilman Crandell and some of our partners in the months ahead. And we've also just allocated millions of dollars for trails and parks across all of Baltimore County. So you may see new tennis courts or playgrounds, and that's all part of that investment. I mentioned the teaching before. Proud Baltimore County public school teacher, parent of a kindergartner in BCPS, which is why we have stepped up and we put forward the single largest increase of maintenance of effort, which is the required amount in the county's history. $40 million over and above maintenance of effort. Fully funding step increases, giving our teachers a 2% cost of living increase, paying for additional staff, funding all the positions that were set to be lost because of a reduction in class size and a reduction in enrollment last year. And so those resources are really poised to make sure that we continue to make the investments in our schools that we need to continue providing the pay and providing competitive benefits. As I think about the budget ahead, Our goal is to really focus on investing in keeping our people and filling the vacancies that we have so that we can really sustain the progress and the recovery that's needed in the years ahead. School construction, we have put forward hundreds of millions of dollars to finish the prior administration's Schools for Our Future program. There are a couple of new schools we're going to go over in the slide deck here, but really this is about raising the bar. We now have every school funded to have air conditioning across Baltimore County. You look at the list. In the 7th district alone, we were making the investments, whether it's new Colgate and Berkshire elementary schools. We're planning to fund a new addition at Dundalk High School, new turf fields, roof rehabs, and Red House Run will also be new opening in September of 23. So a lot of good work that's been done to date, and we're going to continue making those investments because our kids are worth it. In planning for that future around school construction, we engaged with over 22,000 community members, worked with an independent education consultant to help us really address facility condition, capacity needs, and the school's ability to meet the learning needs of our kids. And what has come of that is a program called My iPass, the multi-year improvement plan for all schools. Next slide, thank you. This represents a $2.5 billion investment over the next 15 years, ensuring that every single school gets some significant investment. And it's fully paid for with our existing funding mechanisms, which includes $100 million a year of local bonding. What My iPass includes is actually bringing all of our kids out of trailers and into the school building over the next 10 years. It ends that practice. It prioritizes STEM education, addresses all of our school needs, invest in community schools, invest in special and alternative schools. It provides a replacement school and expanded capacity at many of our other schools. But again, this is really about touching and addressing the needs of all of our school communities. As part of My iPass, there are significant enrollment challenges in the Southeast, especially at our middle school and high school level. So just recently announced by Baltimore County Public Schools our community engagement hearings on March 2nd and April 21st. To address the growth, they're going to be presenting the community with several options. And so I encourage everyone who is interested in the schools or has a child in the system to really mark the date, help spread the word. I think, Pete, we have flyers out in the lobby, so feel free to grab a flyer. We want you to be engaged and be part of that process to help inform what the solution is to that overcrowding. There are going to be multiple solutions, and I want to make sure that you guys are part of settling on what's the best solution for the Southeast. And we're investing because the investment's needed. We're the 3rd largest school district in the state. We're also among the oldest school stock, which is why we pushed forward not only our local investment, but also the state to pass the Built to Learn Act. And that Built to Learn Act is bringing additional resources for us to help elevate the standard and do all of these projects under My iPass. Next slide. As I mentioned, we currently are using $100 million a year from the county. We get about $40 million or so from the state, and the Built to Learn Act contemplates about, on average, a $40 million a year investment for 10 years. Collectively, that gets us a long way, but it doesn't get us all the way. And so we're asking the state to step up and help us do even more. Next slide. And raising the bar means that we can do more for things like security enhancements. As we bring our kids inside, we ensure they're safe in the building, modernizing our classrooms, putting forward the additional seats that we need for pre-kindergarten that's contemplated under the blueprint for Maryland's future. So, as Councilman Crandell said, this is really your night. This is about turning the floor over to you. We wanted to give you a sense of the progress we've made together over the last 3 budgets, even in the midst of a pandemic. But our town halls will go through March. I will have to submit my budget to County Council on April 14th. Council has through May to do their review and a final approval by the end of May. So thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for showing up, and look forward to taking your questions and comments. I think if you're not here and you're watching, you can obviously email us, but otherwise we're looking forward to hearing your ideas for the budget this year. Thanks. Do you want to give instructions?
At this time, if you would like to line up, we have a microphone set up on the right side of the room and the left side of the room for you to submit your budget proposal or testimony, or any questions you may have for the councilman or the county executive.
Thanks.
Who gave you a front ticket?
We'll start on the right side and we'll alternate back and forth.
And if you want to grab the mic, just let me know. Say the word.
Are these mic'd or just
I think these are also
or
mic'd.
live stream?
I think these are streamed or just recorded.
It's to the Facebook stream.
Okay.
It's not recorded.
Okay.
Ready, sir?
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Rhea Bittinger, and I represent the president of Sussex Community Association, which is in Essex. My first comment is to the county executive. I see you. We appreciate you. We see what you're doing in our community, and it is much appreciated. I hear a lot from my community members. To move on to my budget issue, I'm imploring both the county executive and the county councilman, Mr. Crandell, to please look at providing a new precinct for Precinct 11, Essex Precinct. It is now my understanding that this is the oldest precinct in Baltimore County. I think it was constructed or opened in 71 or 73. Consistently from the data that I was able to pull from the Baltimore County website or their annual reports, from 2012 to 2019, Essex Precinct has had the highest calls for service volume every year, with the exception of 2012, where they fell third, and 2016, where they fell second. 2019 is my last year of information that was on the website, and they fielded 104,492 calls for service. That averages to 286 calls per day. It is a very busy precinct. The precinct it doesn't give them a sense of pride. They deserve to have a home away from home to come to and have bathrooms that look presentable and have a precinct that, we welcome people into. So that is what I'm asking for. You know yourself that I'm a very strong supporter of our police department. And I'm begging both of you to please consider getting them into the next budget. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Leah. Thanks for all you do in the community as well.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Derek Valillo. I'm a Director of Operations for a Youth Mentorship Program and a deacon at Rosedale Baptist Church. Thank you guys for being here tonight and giving us a chance to give some advice on the budget. Just a couple concerns and things to bring to your attention. I was just surprised to see in the budget, especially in the American Rescue Plan, the way the funds are being spent, but no money towards our police officers. It's to my knowledge that we have a surplus, and I know we're spending a lot of money and initiative on recruitment of police officers, but not enough will take care of the police officers we have now. Two suggestions I could give is possibly helping them with their health care costs, and I believe Baltimore County is the only county that don't allow the police officers to take their vehicles home. I think that would show support to our officers that are leaving, going to Harford County, Howard County, and other places of employment. And the last thing I wanted to give some suggestions and touch on is the mental health issues that we have going on. We had 400 kids walk out of Dundalk High School. We had 200 kids walk out of Patapsco High School. There's a mental health issue going on. I would ask if we could maybe use some of this budget for after-school activities. We know that there's a lot of fathers and a lot of families in this home that don't have fathers in their home. Maybe we can connect them with positive resources, whether it's karate, things like that. The last thing I want to mention is I'm a deacon at Rosedale Baptist Church. We send missionaries around the world, Indonesia, China, other places to provide positive atmospheres for the communities. We need missionaries here in Baltimore County, and I hope that you guys can connect our churches more with their schools to the residents that would like it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Darren.
Hi, good evening. I'm Amy Messer with Dundalk Renaissance Corporation. I'm Executive Director and also a Dundalk resident. There's several of us here tonight in Dundalk Renaissance. We may be speaking together or in succession. Just wanted to express our gratitude. Should I do this? Sorry. We wanted to express our gratitude to you, Baltimore County, for your ongoing support of our organization as we are now in our 20th year and your investments in the community. We're very proud of what we've accomplished together with the county, community partners, and residents, board members. Many of them are here with board member Patricia from Carroll Hall, who works at CCBC in the community. Elizabeth Kaplan is also a board member. And
I'm Corey Edwards, Vice President of the Board of Directors for Dundalk Renaissance and a lifelong Dundalk resident. Over the past 20 years, Dundalk Renaissance has assisted over 2,000 households with renovations, energy retrofits, home purchasing grants, home buying or education, tours of Dundalk neighborhoods, financial counseling, and tax relief. Dundalk Renaissance has supported 28 Main Street businesses with grants and marketing assistance, and has probably hosted over 300 events attended by more than 35,000 people in our work to build community connections and attract shoppers to Main Street businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we want to hop over or keep going?
Is this the DRC train still going? Let's just keep. Is that okay? Okay, we'll just.
Great.
If it's DRC, we'll just keep the DRC thing going, and then we'll.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, County Executive. I'm Nick Staggerwald. I'm the Business Development Manager for the Dundalk Renaissance. I also function as our Main Street Manager, and I'm a lifelong resident of Silicon Valley and Sparrows Point. The Dundalk Main Street program, we want to thank you for the support you've given to us, and we're hopeful that with Baltimore County support in FY23, we can continue to grow our Main Street in Dundalk, as well as continue marketing our community as a whole and expand our financial counseling services by offering eviction prevention and foreclosure prevention services. These services are vital in not only promoting our Main Street, but as well as Dundalk as a whole. Thank you.
So just, I'm Councilman Deputy Director and Housing Initiatives Manager at Dundalk Renaissance. And of course, I'm a resident here in Dundalk in the North Point community. And just wanted to say again, thank you. Just with the support we've gotten, both from the state and the county, we've done over 250 residential improvement to properties in Dundalk in the greater area. And we are just, of course, grateful for that, but we also want to just put a little pin in there to make sure that in the FY23 that we are able to get funding to offer more renovation loans to support current homeowners, and so they can stay or sell their properties, but hopefully stay. But we also want to just provide more improvement for our communities. So just to produce more renovations for our market boost program, that's really been helpful to make turnkey properties for our community members who want to become lifetime residents, homeowners. So we really appreciate your support, and thank you.
Thank you. Not DRC, right? Okay.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Good evening. My name is Mary Taylor. I live in District 7. Thank you, Councilman Crandell, for representing us so well there.
Thank you, Mary.
I'm here tonight as a representative of a grassroots group that started in August of 2020 called the Baltimore County Parent Student Coalition. We are a registered LLC, and we are formed to hold BCPS accountable and transparent to parents and teachers of Baltimore County. I'm here about BCPS funding. For 3 years in a row, you provided record funding for education with fiscal year 2022 being a historic funding. You stated this budget is an investment in building better and stronger schools. Well, BCPS received 55% of $4 billion of the 2022 budget. That was more than $2 billion, which doesn't include which BCPS received from COVID and ESSER care funds from both state and federal governments in 20 and 21. With failing academic achievement, teacher and bus driver shortages, and increased violence in our schools, just to name a few of the problems, you're basically funding a failing public school system without any accountability. So without blaming the pandemic or the famous cyber attack, how can you assure us, County Executive Olszewski, that the taxpayers' money will be spent for a better return on our investment in our BCPS public school system and our children's future? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Mary, thank you. Just as I'm sure you're aware through all your advocacy, I'm sure you've learned that the body of record and the governing body of BCPS is the school board, right? And the school board selects and oversees the superintendent. And so, like Councilman Crandell, I believe in investing in our schools, and I think we have to make sure that we are putting forward the resources. But when it comes to accountability, is an extension of the state board. So if you want to see changes, I don't know if you've talked to, I don't know if the delegates or the senator are here tonight, but those require state legislative changes. And I will tell you, not only did we create the Inspector General of Baltimore County, we actually put in legislation that didn't go anywhere, that would have expanded the IG's authority to also apply to our county school system. But that requires state legislative action. So, through the budget hearings, through our budget conversations, we ask questions, we push, we promote, but ultimately, BCPS operational control is through the superintendent and the Baltimore County School Board. So, I'm sure that you have talked to your school board members and have worked with them, but really that's why I pushed for an elected school board when I was a member of the House of Delegates, so that people have a direct say in who represents them on the school board. So, happy to work with you in all the ways that we can, but just want to make sure that folks have an understanding of like what limits there are on operational controls, but we have consistently called for openness and transparency from BCPS, opening the books, being transparent about operations. We will continue to do that. So, but thank you.
Thank you, and I look forward to collaborating with
Sure.
you and working on some problems within our
Sure,
schools.
sure.
Thank you.
And on the school safety, we continue. We were a jurisdiction that has consistently supported the SRO program. It's a nationally award-winning program, and that's something that Councilman and I have both continued to support and will continue to do so as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight, Mary, and thank you, County Executive. Thanks for your words on this. And I did want to bring up the school resource officers, or better known as the SRO program. It was actually started in Baltimore County by a former colleague of mine, Councilwoman Vicky Allman, sorry, excuse me. Both of them are now going to be in my inbox tomorrow morning for that phone call. But this is a very successful program, and I do want to let you know that there are some in the General Assembly that would not like the SR program to be funded and continue in Baltimore County, which I believe would be a major mistake. So this is a program, and I acknowledge our law enforcement officers that are with here tonight. We just had an incident in Catonsville High School, and by all reports, the actions of the school resource officer at Catonsville High School, his actions were on point and created an atmosphere where no one else could get hurt. And we appreciate that effort to one of our heroes on the ground. So just wanted to let you know that our SRO program may be in jeopardy by some folks that would rather see that go by the wayside. Thank you.
Buenas noches. Y yo le tengo dos preguntas.
Good evening, I have two questions.
La primera, yo tengo una niña con discapacidad y yo veo los comerciales que salen en inglés que piensan nada más en los niños tradicionales, pero no se ponen a pensar en los niños que tienen una discapacidad. ¿Cómo van a hacerse ellos el examen del COVID en la escuela?
I have a daughter with special needs, and in any of the commercials that I watch, I see information and programs about how normal children are treated. How are children with disabilities going to be tested for COVID in school systems?
Y sinceramente yo me pongo a pensar, mi hija no habla, mi hija no razona, ¿cómo ella se va a hacer el examen ella sola si una maestra no está capacitada para hacérselo a ella?
Because my daughter doesn't speak, and has limited capacity. So how is she going to administer the COVID test to herself if her teachers aren't capable of doing it for her?
Sí me gustaría que pensaran en esos niños, no en los tradicionales, sino que tienen alguna otra discapacidad. Mi hija tiene Down syndrome, pero hay muchos niños que tienen autismo y realmente ellos no pueden hacer algo por ellos mismos.
I would like you to keep in mind children with special needs, not just children like my daughter with Down syndrome, but children with autism and different disabilities.
La otra pregunta es, nuestra comunidad ha sufrido demasiado con el COVID. Yo sé que hay muchos servicios para la comunidad, pero ellos han sido los más afectados y no hay recursos para ellos, siempre nos tienen olvidados. Nosotros pagamos impuestos también, como ustedes, y no encontramos un recurso que pueda ayudarnos a nosotros en cuestión de pagar biles, en cuestión de pagar renta.
My community has been deeply impacted by COVID. We were often first responders, and we were found without any resources to help our community. We are taxpayers just like you, but we could not find assistance in the county to help with rent or eviction prevention or the rest of our bills.
Muchas gracias por escuchar las preguntas y espero que realmente mi comunidad tenga algo de respuesta, tenga algo de alivio, porque sinceramente hemos sufrido más que cualquier otra raza.
I want to thank you for listening to my questions, and I hope that you will give answers and take the community's needs, because my community has been one of the most deeply impacted, if not the most impacted.
Yeah. Thank you very much first. And I'll start with the second question. And so for those of you who don't know, Juliana Valencia Banks is our new Immigrant Affairs Coordinator. And in a county that has as rich a diversity as we have in Baltimore County, it's a position that's long overdue. And so your community has absolutely been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. And when we talk about the response, having Juliana build an office is precisely what this is about, so that we make sure that all of our residents have access to the resources to which they should be entitled. So that we are being intentional about recognizing that fact and doing all that we can to build out the resources to improve that. On the schools question, I'll revert back to what I said to Ms. Taylor earlier. I don't know the operational question because we don't oversee the day-to-day operations, but I can tell you that it's a very personal question in some ways for me. I was a social studies and special education teacher in Baltimore County, and so I want the very best for your daughter and her educational experience here. And while we don't oversee the day-to-day, our office is more than happy to work with you to make sure that we get those questions answered. And so our Office of Community Engagement and Immigrant Affairs will follow up with you to make sure that we are getting you all of the resources and the questions you need answered about the school. Good. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for your current investment in our community. My name is Francis Taylor. I'm president of the North Point Peninsula Council. We've been representing the community in civic affairs for 51 years. The North Point Peninsula, approximately 3 miles in length, affords residents the opportunity to enjoy 5 county parks, 1 state park, a National Historic Landmark House, a Baltimore County Landmark House, a National Historic Trail, one of only 19 in the nation, a senior center, 4 schools, colonial agriculture fields, and more. Bounded by water on 3 sides, waterfront recreational access is available end-to-end in several places in between. The major component that is missing is safe pedestrian and bicycle access to these sites. Reality is that vehicle volumes are increasing. Truck traffic is growing, and sadly drivers are going faster, paying attention less, and just plain not caring, as evidenced by the tire ruts and the grass shoulders of our roads. The Great Maryland Outdoors Act, currently being discussed in the Maryland General Assembly, is receiving favorable reviews, and that's a funding mechanism for parks. And if adopted, could potentially increase patronage at North Point State Park. The North Point Peninsula 2007 Community Plan identifies a streetscape and other improvements and solutions to addressing the issues caused by growing traffic on the peninsula. For a start, I am asking the county to consider funding at the beginning of our streetscape plan. By installing only one block of sidewalk and creating a safe pedestrian crossing, a vast majority of residents would have access walking and biking to the Edgemere Senior Center and the waterfront park and fishing pier behind the building at that location. I know that you recognize the treasures, both historic and recreational, on the peninsula, and would ask that you consider this request. Thank you.
Thanks, Fran. I get to drive by those tire rods when I come to and from my house, and it's real. And we appreciate all that you do. Actually, it's ironic you mentioned the Great Outdoors Act. I was actually testifying on Delegate Lukey's version of the bill in the House today, because I want to see the investment in our state parks in the county, but also want to make sure that make sure people can enjoy them safely. So, thank you.
Thank you, Fran, and I want to thank you for your service to your community, and also for being our representative, the district representative to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety. Is it council or commission? Committee. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your years of work on that. Just a quick story. When the county executive took office in one of our first meetings together, I mentioned to him a program called Walk Safe to School. Safe Routes to School program. And I think you know about this already, but for the benefit of others that may not, the previous administration, when I would bring up that this is a federally funded program that Baltimore County could use to fund sidewalks for students to safely get to school and come home from school, I made the county executive aware of this program, and this is something that the council could not do. This had to be an administrative action inside of Baltimore County to seek these funds. And to his credit, his staff went to work and secured those funds, which I believe are evidenced by the sidewalks that have been put in outside of in Edgemere proper there by the schools. So as I mentioned when I first started tonight and introduced the county executive, I'm proud of the progress that we've made in the 7th district, but this is evidence that we're not done yet and there's more progress that can be made. So thank you.
And just for information, there's another project, a startup project that's going through with that program, so that should be coming anytime soon. We have a meeting next week, and I'll get an update on that.
And we have the benefit of a lot of our department. I don't know who's representing DPW and T tonight, but if you guys want this, whoever is there wants to speak up to our general work on bike and ped and bikeability, Director Walker.
Good evening, and thank you for your work on the committee for the bike pedestrian plan and being a part of the work that we do at DPW&T. We are familiar with the grant process that you talked about, and as you know, Edgemere Elementary School actually is getting sidewalks because of the Safe Routes to School grant program. So that is one. And we do have a plan to install additional sidewalks in Edgemere. So we hear you loud and clear. I know you've been working with Jesse, so our bike and pedestrian master plan should be completed within the next 6 months. And it'll give us a better idea strategically where we need to pass it on.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Ricardo Calleja, tengo 6 años viviendo en esta comunidad.
Good evening, my name is Ricardo Calleja. I've been living in this community for 6 years.
Queremos hacerle una petición, queremos ver cómo puede incluir en este presupuesto, queremos tener acceso a la información en los diferentes idiomas.
I would like to ask how you're going to incorporate language access into this budget for all the different languages spoken in the county.
Toda la información del condado queremos que esté traducida en nuestro idioma y también qué se puede hacer para en este mismo presupuesto ayudar a contratar más policías que hablen español en nuestras comunidades que nos permite denunciar los delitos.
We would like to make sure that it encompasses all of the information available in the county resources in multiple languages. I would also like to ask how you're planning on including police officers that are multilingual so that when our community members that don't speak English are able to interact with them better.
I'm going to turn it over to the chief or someone on her team at some point, but what I will say is we are actively trying to incentivize officers and others. We actually have a bilingual bonus where we pay officers additional resources who have that skill set. I'll let the chief talk to the deployment and the needs for how we utilize folks who are bilingual. I'm working with Director Rhoda Benjamin in HR to make language acquisition a new reimbursable investment in our employees who want to expand their language skills and learn a new language. And I'm actually going to let Juliana, after the chief, talk a little bit about how she's helping to move the county government to do more to make more documentation accessible and talk about the language work that she's doing. So, Chief.
Thank you, sir. So that's a great question. And one of the things that we are very focused on in the police department is diversity. And that includes people from different backgrounds, people that speak different languages. And for the first time ever, we are actually in the process of working to incentivize so we can attract and retain officers that speak multiple languages. That's something that's in progress right now, but as we are going out doing community recruiting, we are very focused on that, and we have a significant number of officers that do speak other languages. So part of what we continue to strive to do is to make sure that we're able to get them into the communities where their skills are needed the most. And that's something that we'll continue to do, and we'll continue to recruit people from diverse backgrounds with a lot of different language skills. Thank you for the question.
Parte de mi trabajo es crear un plan de acceso de lenguaje. Entonces este plan tiene diferentes partes, pero parte del componente del plan es incorporar traducciones de todos los documentos vitales de los diferentes departamentos del condado. Adicionalmente, asegurarnos que todas las personas que trabajan en el condado saben cómo usar la línea de lenguaje para que puedan hacer traducciones inmediatamente, y también trabajar en educar no solamente a las personas, a los directores, sino a las personas que son los que interactúan con la comunidad inmediatamente. Y ese plan va a empezar en 3 departamentos: en el departamento de salud y vivienda y en el departamento de ancianos. So part of my job is creating a language access program. The language access program is going to tackle language access for folks with limited English capacity in multiple ways. We're going to start by first doing a survey and making sure that we know where the county is at when it comes to working with folks with limited English proficiency. By federal law, the county government is required to make sure that folks with limited English proficiency have access to different services. So we will start with a survey, and then we will work to make sure that all vital documents are translated and make sure that all staff are trained to work with the language line so that they're able to engage with community members. And we're also going to make sure that it's a holistic approach to language access. Thank you.
Gracias. Chief, you missed your recruitment pitch, though. You were always hiring, right?
Give her a chance to do it. It's right here, Saturday.
Yeah, actually, before we go on, do you want to talk about what's happening here Saturday? Thank you, Councilman Crandell, for the reminder.
So actually, on Saturday, we are doing a very large recruitment event right here. And we're really one of the things that we've been focused on in the police department is bringing our recruiting into the community instead of thinking that the community is going to come to us. It's been very successful. We've done it in 4 other places around the county, and we're very excited to come to Turner Station on Saturday. We're going to be bringing a lot of our specialized units. They'll be here doing demonstrations. We're going to be doing a panel in recognition of Black History Month that's going to have current and retired members. And probably the most exciting thing for us is that people will have the ability to apply for the police department on site, and that can be people that are interested in becoming police officers, or if you're under 21, if you know someone who's 18 years or older who's interested in becoming a police We're also hiring for that. They'll be able to take a practice physical agility test as well. So whether you're interested in law enforcement, you have a family member who might be interested, or you just want to bring your family and come out and see some of the displays that we have, we would love to have you out and join us on Saturday. There will be lunch and a bunch of other different things as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Chief. Ed.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. It's good to see so many people that I've worked with over the years. I'm here on a very narrow subject, and it's the sidewalks in Edgemere. I work well with Fran. We work on the North Point Council together. I'm here tonight to request that Baltimore County replace the two crumbling and unsafe macadam walkways. One is on the Lodge Forest Drive. The other one is on the Lodge Farm Road. Both of these major thoroughfares leading from the most populated neighborhoods of North Point are pathways that must be accessed by students for one reason or another, must walk or ride their bikes to school or after school activities. The county recently installed new crosswalks at Sparrows Point High and middle schools. Additionally, more improvements to Edgemere Elementary School walkways are planned. It is now time to address the walkways that lead to these most recent improvements. Currently, students and others are choosing to walk and ride on the road because of the degraded and unsafe condition of these existing sidewalks. They are not in a state that handicapped individuals could use, and those with mobility devices must ride in narrow two-lane roads that are adjacent. An additional benefit to the requested improvements would be to provide improved access to the Park Drive, also known as the Hall Road or truck trails, to provide traffic-free access into North Point State Park. These two walkways are beyond repair and no longer usable. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Ed. It's good to see you. And those trails probably haven't been touched since I was running around and trying to bike them when I was a kid over in Edgemere. So it's a good reminder. You good?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Melissa Kaplan. I serve as a pastor at St. Lutheran Church in Colgate. I'm a new neighbor. I live right next to the church, and I'm really excited to be putting down roots here in this community. And the few short months that I've been getting to know my neighborhood and my neighbors, the consistent refrain that I've heard from all of my neighbors in the beautifully diverse and dynamic neighborhood that is Colgate is that trash and rats are a problem, and I know we hear it all the time, but I'm curious. I've been to many community association meetings, again, where the information from code enforcement and the education that's going out is in one language. That doesn't engage half of my neighborhood. So I'm curious about that continuing in this language access theme that we've had these last couple questions. Also, there's a lovely park at the back of my neighborhood that is incredibly underutilized. It could be lovely, rather. It's got a lot of trash, and I don't see any programming that's happening there. I'm excited to see that there's a lot of investment planned in Parks and Rec, and I'd love to see and hear how our corner of this county can take advantage of that funding and what kind of programming can exist for the many families, especially the diverse families that are new to this community and new to this country, to get their kids involved and getting to know their neighbors and talking to each other and building connections within the neighborhood. Thank you. And I'd love to hear particularly from both of you. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And then I'm going to, after the councilman goes, I'm going to ask either Director Gutwald or Chief Whitlock to talk a little bit. So part of why we're doing those additional resources is that we can get from just enforcement to sort of proactive education and working with residents to understand why we cite for lids or why the enforcement is what it is. So having those additional officers, which I think are now being onboarded, will help very much in communities like yours, and welcome, and thank you for serving in the county and in Colgate. The feedback on the literature is a good one, and if we're not doing it, we need to do better and be better, and we have to fix it. And I trust that Chief Whitlock, who's been very responsive, will take that to heart, and we'll make sure that we make those resources available for you and for your neighbors on the park. I'll also, after PAI speaks, I'll open it up to a representative. I think Bob Smith is here, for the Deputy Director of Rec and Parks, to talk about our community investment in parks, and we can add that to the list of things that we should be looking at. But I'll go Councilman Crandell, PAI, Rec and Parks.
Thank you, Johnny. Pastor, it's good to see you again. We had a meeting not too long ago. Thank you for coming into the office. expressing not only this, but some of the other issues surrounding Colgate. It's been a long battle with respect to the RAT program. It's corrected in my vernacular that being county councilman is really about rats, trash, and speed humps. That's the things that we deal with on a daily basis in our office. And I say that facetiously, but the rat problem was being ignored, and we had to literally get citizens from this area a bus, and some of them are here tonight that participated in this, to come up to the county council meetings and speak on our community's behalf, because we were getting no action on the rat infestation problem, not only in Colgate, but in some of our more highly populous neighborhoods. And through that citizen advocacy and me being a greasy wheel, we got the first ever rat eradication program in Baltimore County funded. It was designed by code enforcement, and that's how Colgate got into the program. It is one of those neighborhoods that received the benefits of the rat eradication program, was by all measures has really made an impact in those communities. That's not to say that there still isn't a problem. So I appreciate your comments on the nature of the diversity within the community, and some people getting pamphlets showing them what it means to be a good citizen and how better to handle their trash, so we can get to a point of minimizing the infestations that is understandable to everyone in the neighborhood. So your point is well taken. Something that I'll ask the county executive to put it on the spot. Is the program going to be funded again in FY23 year's budget? Just say yes.
I don't think I can leave here and say it's not going to be funded,
No,
right?
So we're going to, as we do every year, we are going to advocate for the funding and the continuation of that program. And trash is everywhere, and it's not just in Baltimore County. Not just in, well, certainly in Baltimore City. It's in Baltimore County. It's in a lot of our communities. And one of the things that I've learned through being a county council member in the 7th district is there's a few things actually. One is, don't litter. Don't throw your trash on the ground. It's just as simple as that, because trash and litter is generated by people. Our dogs and cats that we have at home and our other pets, they don't make it their daily business to go out and throw paper and cups and things into our neighborhoods. That's number one. Second, get a hold of your own trash in your household. Make sure that you have secure lids that don't blow off, and that also helps with the rat program as well. And the third thing is get involved. We have numerous citizens. One of them, his name is John Meltzer, who I don't believe is here tonight, but has gotten accolades from the DRC and the Optimist Club of Dundalk for the work that he's done, and just taking it upon himself with help to go out to areas where there's trash, and he picks up trash every single day. Well, I think he skips one day a week because his wife, for some reason, wants it at home. So he's not the only one, and he's received accolades for people that go out and pick up trash in our neighborhoods. A lot of them don't see a lot of recognition from us for their efforts that, again, are generated by people that aren't behaving the way they should be in our communities. The last thing on this issue is, I know that we have one group represented here. If you are in a community, or you are a community leader, or simply someone that cares about this issue, there are several different organizations within the district that have made significant inroads in helping us get a handle on the trash and litter problem. One of them, I know their executive director, Karen Wynn, I believe that she is here, and that's Maryland Waterways Foundation. Karen, are you still here? Oh, but you're getting ready to speak. Another one is the Back River Restoration Committee, and the third one that comes immediately to mind, and I know that I'm missing some, is is Clean Bread and Cheese Creek. Now, if you contact any of these any of these organizations and say, hey, we need a helping hand in our community, they have the knowledge, the tools, the wherewithal to get county dumpsters to help out, and a way to get volunteers into your communities. Hopefully I'm not making more work for you, Karen, but they are available. They have all the resources necessary, partially funded by county government and partially funded by volunteers and donations, to bring out the tools to do community cleanups. So I know that they will be happy to hear from anyone in this audience or anyone that is listening in the live feed. They'd be happy to come and get involved and bring their volunteers and bring their resources to your neighborhood. And when people start to see a cleaner neighborhood and people cleaning up, maybe their behavior will get a little bit better, and then we won't have the problems that we do in a variety of our neighborhoods, including Colgate. So thank you, Pastor, again for bringing this up.
I'll just mention a couple other things. I'm become director of inspections and then we go enforcement law. And one of the things that we passed in our budget last year was the collective property fund. So some of these companies that are talking about trash and allocation, that's allowed us to collect the property fund legislation associated with it. It's dedicated funds for to deal with some of the issues. And we expand our allocation program as well as some of our community street programs with the digital code enforcement office. I'm going to turn it over to Chief Whitlock to talk about some of the things that he's doing with that allocation program, but as well as with some of his code enforcement officers, the language barriers overseeing our inspectors as well.
Director, all in council trying to kind of stole my thunder. So I'll just echo what both were saying. We are expanding the program. We've done some work with formalizing the program as well. One of the things with code enforcement that we really want to try to do is, at the end of the day, we'll always be an enforcement agency, but we really want to take more community engagement within the communities to try to prevent these problems from happening before they occur. Enforcement is needed, and part of that is education and getting into communities and helping and educate people, working with community groups and community leaders to do that. Pastor, you and I met a few months ago, and I recently connected with Juliana here, and we are currently working on getting a lot of our literature and educational material in multiple languages, so we can get that as the councilman said, a lot of it comes down to trash and providing food sources for rats, so we want to help control that. People come from different jurisdictions, different walks of life, and we want to make sure that they understand what their requirements are, their responsibilities are to the community and to their neighbors. So I'm trying to be more proactive with inspections. We've hired some additional code enforcement officers with the support of the council and the county executive. We plan on implementing them with a lot more proactive inspections to get involved in the community.
And Pastor, assuming you're talking about Colgate Park and Capitol Hill, we've recently done ball diamond upgrades there and replaced with new play benches. We're scheduled this spring to place both backstops at that site. We use the last call. Me and Chris Harlan is the regional coordinator for this region, programming the curves outside. So we've been doing a lot of work there. We'll continue to do that.
Great, thanks. My community association president.
I'm Dr. Crandell. I'm president of Boulder College Residents Association. If you know our community as you do, we have a significant problem with flooding. Recently is Halloween. As a combination of rain, high tides, water being blown in from the bay, we had significant problems. In fact, I asked the county to provide a dumpster, and for 10 days we filled that dumpster. For older homes, the living areas are flooded. Our newer homes, garage are all flooded. We also have a problem because the water as it proceeds takes a lot of the soil and mulch back into the bay. Actually, in the past few years, we've also had places difficult to see the edges of our road. We've had 2 school buses and a medic that go off the road that had to be towed out, which was a significant problem for fire and police to be there. 45 years ago, water and sewer service was put in. And we were told at the time they couldn't put in a stormwater management system because the concrete pipes from the sewer down to the underground pipes with our high water levels would not hold up. Expansion and contraction has done considerable damage. But with the newer materials, plastics that are available today, the stormwater management system would be feasible. We're not asking for sidewalks, that would always cause more water to run off. But if we were to have curbs and sewer service, it would do a great deal in protecting our community and keeping our roads clear so that people can actually see where the roads exist. So I would ask for consideration possibly for the stormwater management system.
Sure. I'm going to let both DDWT and Ms. Ayosa talk a little bit about our efforts to, you can't hear me? Oh, the question is about storm drains for the Miller's Island community, especially with new technologies and new sort of ways to. I think the water line was with old technologies. You know, the community was told in the past that like it really didn't make sense, but like given some new technologies and maybe even green infrastructure, I think the request is, can we take a fresh look at that for the community? Is that accurately? Okay.
My quick answer is yes. We are looking at new technology now to assess our storm drains. As you know, the climate issue has been a problem as it relates to flooding out here in this area. We most recently hired a new deputy who focuses on sustainability and flooding. And one of our main goals is our infrastructure and maintaining our infrastructure. So the county executive has put some record funding in for us to do some new creative green infrastructure things. We are actually talking about a green infrastructure division within DPWNT to start to look at how we attack flooding from a different perspective. So the short answer is
yes, if I could just add to what Director Walker said. One of the chief roles of my job as Chief Sustainability Officer is to think about these kinds of changes. We're seeing higher seas, higher tides, bigger storm events, and we are trying to figure out how to be more proactive, both in the way that we manage the water coming off the land, but also the way that we deal with the water that is coming in from the Chesapeake Bay. We've been working very closely with DPW. We are looking at some new innovative technologies and techniques, but we're also looking at how we can better engage with residents so that you all understand that there are things that you can do to reduce your own risk of damage to your property, your home, or things like that. So I would say, in the next several months, we're going to be rolling out some of these ideas. And certainly this part of the county, which is coastal, is going to be a priority for that work.
And I'd just say as a follow-up, we can connect you with both Jennifer and Lauren Buckler, who's the Deputy Director focusing on a lot of those issues, for a follow-up meeting where you can really sort of go in depth with those folks as well. Yep. Sir.
Mr. Olszewski and Mr. Crandell. First of all, I'd like to thank you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mike Thomas. I'm president of the Berkshire Eastwood Recreation and Parks Council. First, I'd like to thank you for the commitment that you guys have made to rec. Not only the Sparrows,
Yep.
Not only the Sparrows Point area, which I've seen plans looks phenomenal. All around the county, there were many programs that I saw a presentation, and I thought it was very nice.
Thank you.
Finally see some more of a commitment, not say finally, I'm sorry, but to see more of a commitment to recs and parks. I just want to bring up at the Berkshire Eastwood rec area. Many years ago we had all this stuff about the government center, but as the end result for the Berkshire Eastwood rec community was the Eastwood School, which was closed, was a building for rec and parks in that area, and it served that area. We lost the field, we lost the building, when they built a new police station. And I understand there's a joint use agreement. It is becoming more difficult for Dundalk Middle. It's becoming more difficult to get the stage use at Dundalk Middle. Dundalk High, we're having the same problem. I don't know if they had things going on, but it just seemed to be more difficult than it was in the past. Also, Dundalk High, I understand, was built with antiquated lighting and may have issues. That's the story I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And and may have an issue getting involved, so that's something that probably needs to be considered in the near future. But as we return to normal, dance programs in the areas specifically, they don't really have enough stages for use, and I really would like to see that the Berkshire Eastwood area just not be forgotten. We're in the corner of the county, and I want to see it forgotten. So I'd really like to ask them to consider to provide a study for a possible new rec center in that area to eventually place the lost building in the field. And I know people in my rec are always screaming for a 90-foot diamond like everybody else says. But I still would like to thank you once again.
Yeah. Absolutely, and thank you for all you're doing for our young people and our adults out there. I think my father would disown me if I ever forgot about Eastwood, you know, growing up on Gulf Street, so. Good.
I think you said it well. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Hello, I'm Laura Ray. I'm here representing the Edgemere Sparrows Point Rec Council.
Yeah, and I think it's just right into, you gotta go like right into it.
Okay. No, there we go. Well, I'm on my pictures. So a couple of things I'm bringing on behalf of the Rec Council. First thing is the Sparrows Point Middle School gym floor is an issue that keeps coming up for us. It's the old tile. It's very, very slippery.
Yep.
We consider it a liability issue. Kids are always falling, so something to be looked into.
Sparrows Point Middle,
better,
the gym floor.
Wax that can be used, or just maybe a new resurface. I know the school itself has looked into it as well, but nothing really came out of that. So, important issue for us. The second thing is the Southeast Area Recreational Center complains about the lights, that they're not bright enough. And I know they looked into that as well, the lights functioned, but so we're asking, maybe looking into additional lights put up, since the report was the lights currently there are functioning as they should. We also are thankful for the Sparrows Point Park. We hope we can get some updates just as far as like a timeline. So we're hoping for that. The new Sparrows Point Middle School that's been proposed, I know that you mentioned that there is a new meeting coming up, but the Rec Council is just really advocating for, you know, the Sparrows Point Middle School high school combination is the only one in the county, and it just we have a lack of resources, and that just adds to the problem, and there's a lot of overcrowding, so the Rec Council is just really asking, you know, the county to look at that as well. And the last thing is Fort Howard Park that we have a list of improvements we just kind of like to turn over to the county, things that we'd like to see done there. And we just want to say thanks to the Rec and Park Department. During the pandemic, I feel like they really did all they could to try to keep the kids active and around their peers, which we think is just vital for their health, so thank you for that. And you saw the budget up there, and you saw some of the projects going on, and we are very appreciative and thankful for that, because we don't just stay in our little part of the county. I know I take my kids all over the county, so thank you for all the projects that are going on.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, and yes.
Yeah.
I'm also with the SP Rec Council. I'm a newer member to the council, lifelong resident of Baltimore County, a student, a mother, a coach. I am just piping in addition to that piece, but it goes along a little bit with the sidewalk piece. So I just want to raise awareness and attention to the safety of the students, the disabled, the athletes that use the crosswalk connecting the three schools along North Point Road. I witnessed multiple, almost yearly, terrible accidents. Personally, it's affected me and my family. We've had fatalities in front of my home. I think a better lit walkway between the crosswalks, reflective technology, anything that could help these kids, especially daylight savings. It's dark when they're walking home with their sports equipment bags, and connecting sidewalks so they're not in the road at night. I think everybody knows that we don't see them when they're in road. So anything that helps with that piece. Thank you.
Pete.
But thank you for your comments, and I think that I know that our police precinct commander, I think he's still here with us this evening. We talk about pedestrian safety on North Point Road a lot, and I do believe that there are improvements that can be made. So your point is well taken. I want to go back to Ms. Ray. I just want to thank you for your continued work throughout the community and your work with the Rec Council and beyond. And when you mentioned the circ lights, are you talking about the interior lights inside the building or the parking lot lights? Because we've dealt with the parking lot lights years ago, but now you're talking about the interior lights on the turf side.
It's a safety issue, not good lighting, seeing the ball.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And thanks for giving my little girl lots of great opportunities, both of you. So thanks for all you do for the Rec Council. We'll have. Well, yeah, I was gonna say, why don't we follow up, Bob, and we'll get working and cracking on some of that, and then DPWT. I think Pete also gave you his card. We can look at some of the reflectivity and other things on the crosswalks as well. So thank you.
Ms. Ray, I also want to address, and I'm glad that you brought it up, the county executive brought it up in his presentation as well, which is the issue of Sparrows Point High School and the future of that school. That school is, as opposed to in the past, the school is definitely on the county's radar in terms of both beginning the community input conversation that is necessary to figure out what scenario would be best for the community. And it's a topic that I don't know if the county executive and I have ever talked without me bringing the issue up. And I don't know, I forget how long ago it was, but the county hired this consultant's hiring was approved by the Baltimore County Council, hired an outside consultancy to bring in and do an analysis of our schools, which is where a lot of where the MyPass information came off that the county executive referenced in his presentation. And in many aspects, Sparrows Point High School and Middle School ranked the highest in terms of need, both in facilities improvement and other things that affect the education of our young people on the peninsula. So we're just starting the process. I do believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel. This has been the can has been kicked down the road in previous years, but I think there is a recognition that the facility itself, both the high school and the middle school, are inadequate to provide our kids the best that we can do. So we're finally on the radar, and we just got to keep pushing, and thank you for the thumbs up on that. And the county executive agrees.
I agree, and I personally support building a new school for the community. I just want to make sure that the community has its opportunity to sort of weigh in terms of what the configuration makes the most sense. The good news is it's also funded and contemplated as part of that multi-year plan. So whatever the community sort of coalesces around and there's consensus around, we'll be able to fund it. So, Bob, in addition to following up, can you give an update on Sparrows Point Park? I think it is worth giving sort of a group update on that.
Sure, for those not aware, Sparrows Point Park is located on the Tribune Atlantic property or Veteran Steel property. It's currently almost completely done in the design phase. We're still working through a lot of it. As you can imagine, some environmental challenges on that property. We're anticipating that the bids will go out early next year. Hoping that they go out sooner, so we're working with some environmental challenges.
Sooner is much better.
I am aware, sir, that sooner would be preferred. Yes. So they're working on a consultant, and it's going to be an amazing project.
It's going to be a real gem. We want to make sure we get it right. We want to make sure it's safe, that we work through all the issues, but we also are, as Bob will tell you, we have regular program open space and rec meetings with me in them, and I'm constantly asking for updates and pushing for continued progress. So, thank you. Karen?
Hi, my name is Karen Wynn from the Waterways Foundation, and I just wanted to thank both of you for first initiating funds to help nonprofits to recover through COVID. It was a very difficult time with their fundraisers. Secondly, for kind of stepping out of the box, both of you, for working together, for supporting War Shoal, for recognizing that District 7 does exist and that it's worth embarrassed to say I'm from Towson in this area, but for recognizing that it is worth putting some money into, with allocating funds to renew Essex, and for especially the midges that we've been battling for a dozen years. Councilman Crandell's been working with us for a long time, and we appreciate that you have been approachable, that you have allowed us to speak to, and have county staff working with us. That has not happened before. It's affected a lot of people, both quality of life and economically, so we really appreciate you stepping up and doing something.
Well, you all have been incredible partners, so thank you for all that you're doing out there as well.
Karen, you may hail from Towson, but the 7th District, I think with all the work that you've done, we'll adopt you down here. You got to learn some of the way we talk though. But thank you for everything that you do, Karen.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Brandon. I'm from Sparrows, I have a couple homes in Turner Station. Now in 2014, when this multi-purpose building was built, y'all promised us that the drains would be taken care of this area. You put 2 dummy drains up there, make it look like you did something, and our homes are being destroyed and demolished. My front porch is falling apart. Here's a picture of 2014. You can see the dirt where this building is being built. And for 7 decades, y'all have done nothing in this community. Nothing has been done. I don't know what kind of committees you have, but they're not doing nothing for this community. Monies was allocated when this multi-purpose building was built. Monies was allocated to have them drains done, but it was allocated to Water's Edge or Edgefield. And I think it's a shame that we have to continue to have our homes destroyed and nobody do nothing. Mold, rats, you name it. For 7 decades. Ever since these homes were built, this has been going on. Nobody's doing anything. I wrote you, I wrote Dutch Rutenberger. Y'all got a response to every little letter you get, and that's the only response I get. It's a shame what's going on, and I don't know what else to do, but it's just terrible that nobody's doing nothing for this community. This is 2014 here. When you built this building and you ignored the drains, when you were supposed to take care of all of it in one process. It's just a shame what's going on with the black community.
So I can't speak to what was or wasn't included back in 2014 because I wasn't county executive back then. It was a prior administration. But what I can assure you, without question, is our commitment to Turner Station and all communities. I know we talked earlier about different approaches to flooding challenges, and it was in response to Frank's question. Turner Station is one of those communities that we're also looking at for alternative ways to come in and address flooding. And so I don't know if Director Walker or Jasmine, if you want to sort of speak it.
But it's been 7 decades.
Yes, sir. And
that's outrageous. Our homes are being falling apart because of the mold in the mildew. We can't even get nobody to come out and inspect the house for something that the county refused to correct. Mm-hmm. It's a shame. But you can give, monies can be allocated and programmed and different things, but the people that buy the home pay taxes get nothing. I think it's a shame.
Well, what I can tell you is if you talk to some of the community leaders in this community, if you talk to Linwood Jackson, if you talk to Gloria Nelson, I think they would say, sir, I think they would say that we have been Edie Brooks, that we have been above and beyond in terms of being responsive and making the investments this community deserves, because you do deserve the investments. And I'm sorry that there are communities across Baltimore County that have been left behind for decades. And we're changing that. And I know that we can't change it overnight, but I invite you to be part of helping us identify where we can do better and where we can be better. And I assure you, this is a team, sir, that is doing better and will keep doing better with you. So we want you to stay connected. We want you to be...
When y'all built this multi-purpose center, you elevated this multi-purpose center up in the air because you knew about the flood. This is elevated and may give us more floods down there. If you go down this street right here, and you go down to the store, this place is elevated. You bring more water in our homes for them. How can you elevate this and then don't put the proper drainage down there to destroy our homes. It doesn't make sense. This is in 2014, that you can see the dirt, the breaking ground of the dirt.
We will both come out and do an immediate evaluation of the existing drainage, and if we can make immediate improvements, we will. And I also am confident that DeAndrea and Jen are actively thinking about the issues of flooding, particularly in the community turner stations. So I'm going to just give them an opportunity if I can as well. But thank you, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, the Army Corps of Engineers came out and did a study on some flooding. But we're committed to come out. I'll come out and walk with the county executive. When the county executive gives his word to come out, we'll come out and we'll walk with you and we'll talk about it. I can't speak to what happened in 2017, but I can tell you we're here today and we'll come out there and we'll walk and we're committed to doing what we need.
This building right here, you were supposed to fix that community.
But we were not. We were not here. That's all we came, but we're here today and we'll come out.
Black community always black, that's all I'm talking.
Hey, Director, sir, if I may, before you walk out, I do want to point out there is currently a project in process to replace a large storm drain that runs behind this building that goes underneath that football field out back. That should be completed sometime this spring or summer, which will alleviate much of that water. And then that football field will be redone. So there is a project to help alleviate some of that water that is draining into your community.
My name is Sharon Keenan.
Here we go.
I'm the Executive Director of the Chesapeake Gateway Chamber of Commerce in Eastern Baltimore County. I also serve as a project manager for the Chamber's Eastern Baltimore County Task Force. I just want to thank you, County Executive Olszewski, and you, Councilman Crandell, for the tremendous support that you have provided to our task force and continue to provide and assisting us in getting a lot of the projects done, especially in the commercial area. In particular, I don't know if Steve Lafferty is here tonight. Yes. I want to send special kudos to Steve and his staff at the planning department. They work with us on a day-by-day basis and really help our group of volunteers in getting done a lot of projects in streetscaping and helping to bring a farmer's market to Essex. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, Sharon, thank you for all that you and your members do as well. Kudos to you, Director Lafferty. You get a shout out tonight. And while I'm giving shout outs, the Essex work, since we're in D7, Drew Vetter, our Deputy Administrative Officer, is really spearheading a lot of those efforts. And if you don't know him, he's a really smart, talented guy, and he's going to do some transformative things with that recovery funding there that we're going to be investing. So, doing it. Yep.
Sure. Thank you, Sharon. I just wanted to make sure that you took the opportunity tonight. I've spoken to her about our little pet project that we've spoken about. I would like you to connect with Director Walker tonight just to say hi, maybe exchange some information. I've spoken with her about that project, and just on a cursory level, on an initial level, and we'll be in correspondence on that sometime soon. So I know Director Walker, if you could wave again.
I think she's out.
She's out
dealing with the flooding.
I think you saw her enough times tonight where you can hunt her down. But I would like the two of you to connect. Okay. Thank you.
Is that it?
Oh. I did want to ask one last thing. Everybody got to respond to here with me, so maybe I'll ask this in a different way. I know the gentleman that was talking, this building was built in 2014, and you guys couldn't do nothing about that. But in 2020, we had the most homicides in Baltimore County. The same administration broke that record in 2019. Why is it that we're not funding our police force? I understand we're putting that effort into new recruitment, but why are we not putting that same amount of effort in the police officers we have now? We have Towson University paying for officers to protect them. We have Towson, the mall in Towson, paying for extra security. Why is the county not doing it? I know nobody wants to talk about it. We have a major crime issue. County Executive, my answer, why are you not funding our police, and in spite of what Penny been doing tonight?
Darren, we are funding our police. So if you paid attention to the budget processes over the years, you would see that our budget has consistently gone up year over year. And not only are we paying our officers more, but we are actively exploring a pilot take-home program for our officers. We are investing in technology. We are doing recruitment bonuses. We also, you had your turn. We also had violent crime down 18% year over year. And if you look and compare Baltimore County to the state of Maryland, if you compare it to a red state like Alaska, if you compare it to a blue state like Delaware, which are similarly sized, our homicide rate is much lower than most other jurisdictions, most other states. Any incident of crime is unacceptable. And I work every day with Chief Hyatt and the Baltimore County Police Department, who put their lives on the line and work hard every day. My brother's in the force, so it's very personal to me. But we're making the investments. We're investing in real-time event centers. We're doing targeted enforcement. But we also have to make those upstream investments too. Giving our kids outlets to play, investing in our rec, recognizing that mental health challenges are real, as you said, recognizing that domestic violence is real and it's a problem in our communities. But police can't do that alone. We have to do the wraparound services, the mental health supports, the rec supports. We need to create job opportunities, which is why we're investing in more jobs, which is why Trade Point is so important. It has to be holistic. It's easy to jump up and down about one number. And every person that's affected is a tragedy. But we have to be better about making sure we address this holistically, and that's what I'm proud of working with the chief on and our other departments to make sure we're doing that.
They don't feel supported.
Yeah, and just to add another thing, and certainly thank you for your questions and comments. One of the things that I consider our police department to be very fortunate about, I speak to peers across the country from other major jurisdictions that have had significant budgetary cuts over the last few years to their police departments. And the support from the county executive, the support from the councilman, the entire council, we have not seen those same budget cuts that have occurred in a lot of other places. And whether it's been equipment, training, tools that our officers have needed to do their jobs, to give them more tools to be able to do their jobs a little bit easier, resources that they needed. I have been incredibly fortunate when I've had to come to make those requests for the men and women in the police department. And one of the things that I think is really notable over the last year is the fact that when we're looking at crime, when we're looking at these increases in violence, which of course are horrible. And just to reiterate what the county executive said, one homicide is too many. There are families that get impacted every time we have a loss. But when we look at the incidents that we have over the last year, the tragic incidents that involve behavioral health crises, one of the things that the county executive pushed forward was an initiative to expand our mobile crisis team. Baltimore County Police Department is one of the oldest mobile crisis teams in the nation. And part of that still ultimately supports and impacts the police department, because if we can put the proper tools in the community to provide the services that people need the most, that also supports our police officers, because it gives them the ability to do their jobs and to do other important things in the community as well. So I am incredibly appreciative of the support that we continue to get, and certainly appreciate your support for our police department.
And I want to thank you for that. I'm saying we're providing the resources to the police officers. And I was last night at Towson, and a group of the Towson precinct raised money for a treadmill for that precinct. And in that meeting, they were talking about a road for the police officers. So if we're looking, if we provide resources, why is the community raising money? We have a surplus in our budget to provide those resources for the police officers.
So wellness is another thing that has been a strong commitment, from each of our police department, from the county executive, from the county council. It's something that we talk about frequently. Certainly, I am grateful that there are community organizations that do donate for our police officers. That to me is the public-private partnership, people caring about their police officers who care about them. But we have expanded a lot of resources that as it pertains to employee wellness within the police department. And that could not have been done without the support from the county executive and the county give us the funding to be able to do those things. And, you know, I'm happy to talk more to you offline about some of our wellness initiatives, but, you know, we're going to continue to push forward with more wellness.
Thank you, Chief Hyde.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you. So before we wrap, I think that was it. I'm going to actually turn it over to Councilman Crandell, and then we will send you guys on your way home.
Thank you, Johnny. I just want to thank the folks from the community that came out tonight, expressed themselves. I do believe that, I think he's still here. Doug Anderson from my staff is joining me tonight. I'm sure he was, there he is. He was taking copious notes. But I'll reiterate what I said earlier when I was introduced, is that I believe in the strength of the 7th District. And there's nothing that working together that we can't do to make this place a better place to live in, work in, raise children in. And that really comes from the strength of the people in the community, not necessarily your elected officials. This is a strong community, a proud community, a little bit rough around the edges, and we're very proud of that. But we are a hardworking community that has a lot of pride, so let's never lose that. So you all coming out tonight and giving up your personal time to be here is very meaningful to me, and I know to the county executive and his department heads that took the trip to make it down and be with us tonight. So thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it. God bless.
And I'll just, before we depart, I want to thank the councilman again for his partnership, and I want to thank you all for your presence tonight. I'm a firm believer that communities can do anything together. And we've been through, we said at the top, we've been through probably the 2 hardest years that I hope any of us face collectively in our lives, and we've managed to come through. And so I want to thank the spirit of the 7th District, but I can't have favorites, but Todd is my councilman, so. But
it automatically makes me your favorite.
That's why we're funding all of the rat eradication, right? I'm so proud of what we have done together these past 3 years, and I'm excited about what this budget will be to continue to move us forward together. I want to thank everybody for the spirit of collaboration and partnership, and we want to be held accountable, and we want to be challenged, but I'm a big believer that when your heart comes at it from the right place and it's about driving progress together, we're going to get there. And we're seeing it in countless places, and we got more to go. This is why we have these conversations, but it's been so good to be back in person. I pray that you all take care of yourselves, look out for your families, and looking forward to working with Councilman Crandell to get this budget done this year. So have a great night, everybody. Thanks so much for coming out.